Rain pounded relentlessly against the windshield as Jake navigated his truck down the desolate stretch of highway. The night was pitch black, save for the occasional flash of lightning that illuminated the empty road ahead. It was the kind of night that sent shivers down your spine, where every shadow seemed to hold a secret, and every whisper of the wind felt like a warning. As he pressed on, fatigue gnawed at Jake's senses, his eyelids heavy with exhaustion. He'd been driving for hours, the monotonous hum of the engine lulling him into a trance-like state. But just as he was about to succumb to sleep, something caught his eye. A figure standing on the side of the road, shrouded in darkness. Frowning, Jake slowed his truck to a stop, squinting through the rain to get a better look. What he saw made his blood run cold. It was a woman, her pale face obscured by a tangle of wet hair, her eyes fixed on him with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. For a moment, Jake hesitated, his mind racing with thoughts of danger and uncertainty. But then, against his better judgment, he rolled down the window and called out to her. "Hey, you okay?" he shouted over the roar of the rain. The woman didn't respond, her gaze unyielding as she stood motionless in the downpour. Sensing that something was off, Jake reached for his phone to call for help. But before he could dial, the woman began to move, slowly, deliberately, towards the truck. Heart pounding, Jake fumbled to roll up the window, his hands shaking with fear. But as he did, something strange happened. The woman's figure seemed to flicker and fade like a mirage in the rain. Confused and unnerved, Jake watched in disbelief as the woman vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind but the echo of her footsteps in the darkness. Shaken to the core, Jake wasted no time in getting back on the road, the memory of the mysterious woman burning in his mind like a brand. But as he drove on through the storm, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that something sinister lurked just beyond the reach of his headlights. Hours passed, the rain showing no signs of letting up as Jake pressed on through the night. But just when he thought he couldn't take another minute of the relentless downpour, something caught his eye. A flicker of movement in the shadows ahead. Instinctively, Jake slowed his truck to a stop, his heart racing as he strained to see through the rain-soaked darkness. And then he saw it. A figure standing in the middle of the road, its form obscured by the pounding rain. Fear gripped Jake's chest as he realized what was happening. The woman, or whatever she was, had returned. But this time, she was not alone. As he watched in horror, more figures began to emerge from the darkness, their ghostly forms illuminated by the lightning that danced across the sky. They stood in a circle around the truck, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light as they whispered to each other in a language Jake could not understand. Frozen with fear, Jake could only watch as the figures drew closer, their voices rising in a chorus of chilling whispers. And then, with a sudden surge of movement, they were upon him, their icy hands reaching through the window, their ethereal forms engulfing the truck in a swirling mass of darkness. Desperate to escape, Jake slammed his foot on the gas, the engine roaring to life as he tore down the highway with reckless abandon. But no matter how fast he drove, the figures remained hot on his heels, their haunting cries echoing through the night. For what felt like an eternity, Jake raced through the storm, his mind consumed by terror and despair. But just when he thought he couldn't go on, the rain began to relent, the storm clouds parting to reveal the first light of dawn on the horizon. With a final burst of speed, Jake tore through the darkness, leaving the ghostly figures behind him in a flurry of rain and shadows. And as the sun rose over the horizon, he knew that he had escaped the clutches of whatever haunted that lonely stretch of highway. But deep down, he also knew that the memory of that fateful night would stay with him forever, a reminder of the chilling horrors that lurked just beyond the edge of the unknown. Title: The Haunting of Brookside Bus Stop. Nestled on the edge of Brookside Park stood an innocuous bus stop, its weathered benches and faded sign betraying no hint of the darkness that lurked within its walls. To the residents of the nearby neighborhood, it was just another stop on their daily commute. But to those who knew its secrets, it was a place of nightmares. Among the residents was Adam, a curious young man with a penchant for unraveling mysteries. From his bedroom window, he could see the bus stop standing silent and empty, its presence a constant reminder of the stories he'd heard, whispered in hushed tones. Legend had it that decades ago, a tragic accident had occurred at the bus stop. A bus had careened off the road in the dead of night, plunging into the ravine below with all its passengers aboard. The driver had survived, but the souls of those lost in the crash were said to linger, trapped between this world and the next. Despite the warnings of his neighbors, Adam couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. Armed with nothing but his curiosity and a flashlight, he set out one night to uncover the truth behind the haunting of Brookside bus stop. As he approached the bus stop, a chill ran down Adam's spine, his senses on high alert. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the sound of his footsteps echoed through the empty streets like a drumbeat of warning. Drawing closer, Adam's eyes fell upon the remnants of the accident. Twisted metal and shattered glass littered the ground, a grim reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded there so many years ago. But it was what lay beyond the wreckage that sent a shiver down his spine, a faint glow emanating from the depths of the ravine below. Heart pounding, Adam made his way down the steep embankment, his flashlight cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. With each step, the air grew colder, and the whispers of the past grew louder in his ears. Finally, he reached the bottom of the ravine, his breath catching in his throat as he beheld the source of the eerie glow. The wreckage of the bus, half buried beneath a blanket of moss and decay. Trembling, Adam approached the wreckage, his footsteps echoing through the silence like a death knell. As he drew near, he could hear the faint sound of voices, whispers carried on the wind, the desperate cries of those lost in the crash. With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Adam realized that the legends were true. The bus stop was haunted, and the souls of the departed were reaching out to him from beyond the grave. Summoning his courage, Adam called out into the darkness, his voice trembling with fear. "Is anyone there?" he shouted, his words lost in the void of the ravine. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the sound of his own ragged breathing. But then, from the shadows emerged a figure, the ghostly apparition of a woman, her pale face twisted in anguish as she reached out towards him. Frozen in terror, Adam could only watch as the ghostly figure drew closer, her eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. And then, with a sudden surge of movement, she was upon him, her icy fingers wrapping around his throat with a strength that belied her ethereal form. Desperate to escape, Adam struggled against the ghostly embrace, his lungs burning for air as he fought for survival. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free from the specter's grasp, her icy touch draining the life from his body with each passing moment. As darkness closed in around him, Adam's vision began to fade, the whispers of the past echoing in his ears like a haunting refrain. And then, with one final desperate gasp for air, he succumbed to the darkness, his body slumping to the ground in a lifeless heap. In the days that followed, Adam's disappearance sent shockwaves through the neighborhood, but try as they might, the residents could find no trace of him or the haunted bus stop where he had met his fate. And so, the legend of Brookside bus stop lived on, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lurked in the darkness, a reminder that some mysteries were never meant to be uncovered.